Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast, the podcast all about the delicate balance between people and business, and quite literally reconnecting the two. My name is Traci Rubin, and I've spent nearly my entire professional career in HR. Join me as I share stories, opinions, and words of advice with you each week. Wow, welcome back to the podcast. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2022. This is the second full year of the podcast. Whoa, and the crowd goes wild. Wow, I'm sorry. This is amazing. It is officially January. We are officially in 2022, and nothing has changed, but that is okay because I am just as excited, hopefully, as you to be here. And I'm just, I'm going to put it out there. This episode is going to only be a manifestation of what I hope is to come from 2022. First and foremost, I really hope that more people listen to the podcast because we're doing great. Numbers are good. We're looking good. But I would love, love, love if I could double, I'm putting it out there, double the listeners. I mean, that's pretty amazing. If I could do that, we're looking good, friends. So this is what I need from you, and we'll talk about this at the end, but I'm going to need you to tell your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your caregivers, your friends, your partners, anyone in your life that needs something to do or wants to listen to someone talk about HR in such a nerdy and passionate way, send them my podcast. It would be a wonderful thing, wonderful way to set off my New Year's if we could just double the listeners. So I'm just putting it out there. First goal. Second goal is, for COVID to go away. But that's less of something I can control and more of something that I'm just hoping and praying for because, we are in the same place as we were in 2022, or in 2020, I should say, because we are in 2022 now, at least from an HR standpoint. I posted on my LinkedIn in the last week of December that, it's tough. Check in on your HR friends because it is a tough go, friends. It's tough. Things are really not so different in terms of workload around COVID as they were in 2020. And I have an episode from 2020 that talks about COVID and everything and the impact on HR. And we have not evolved from that. We are in the same place. So check on your friends, hold them close, give them a hug, send them a thank you because HR is continuing to operate full steam ahead. And I truly don't know anyone in HR that has sincerely taken time off, including myself, even though I would say maybe my honeymoon, my wedding, that was probably the one caveat where I actually didn't look at my email and like my work stuff going on. So that's the one exception here. Otherwise, everyone's just been going and it's tough. So that's my second thing, a little bit unrealistic because it can't really be a goal, but maybe the goal there is just to continue to support and I don't know, find a method to the madness, maybe? I don't know. The third goal, manifesting it, you heard it here first, is to turn this podcast into a profession. 100%, one way or another, even if it remains my second full-time job, because let's not get it twisted, this is my second full-time job. Even if that remains the same, I'm not saying I want to go ahead and quit my job tomorrow, but I would like for the podcast to be, something that is an income driver for me because, I put a lot of effort into it and hobbies are amazing, but hobbies are even better when they pay you. So this is my third goal. I hope you can appreciate where I'm coming from. And, hopefully you'll spread the word as so many of you have on, the podcast. So yeah, tell your mothers, your friends, your fathers, tell anyone. The other thing here is I just want to, this is a regrouping episode. We're not going to talk about anything other than who you are, who I am, why we're here. There might be some people tuning in today who have never listened to the podcast before, and that is okay. I want to tell you that there are some episodes I would love for you to listen to. First one, episode number 1 from last year, or I guess I should say 2020, and that is destigmatizing HR, because I'm going to come back to that in the coming weeks. But that was my very first episode. I have to re-listen to it, even if it makes me cringe. I have to listen to it again. But that is by far probably my favorite episode, not only because it was my first one, but because it remains the nucleus to this podcast. It's the thing that I just, am driving for every single day, is destigmatizing HR. And actually, on this topic, before I recommend another 2 episodes for you to catch up on, I received a comment on TikTok when I posted a TikTok video. As I told you in the last few episodes, I'm going for it. I'm just caving to the peer pressure for TikTok at this point and Reels. Someone said, well, hey, HR doesn't help anyone other than themselves, but hope you're well. I was like, okay. So first thing, yes, I'm well. Thank you to the TikTok user who, bookended the more critical comment with a, something nice. So I appreciate that for sure. But I just want to say, this is exactly why I'm doing this podcast. I want to break down the stigmas and actually destigmatize HR. And we're going to do it together, because if you're listening, that means you want to do the same thing. And my purpose here is to help HR professionals become better HR professionals and to just create a better understanding of the industry and the job, because HR is way more than payroll, it's way more than benefits, and it's way more than the complaint department. And if you listen to the first episode, you will know that we're not the complaint department. We are the solutions resources. We want to help you, humans, people, find solutions, support your solutions, and support you. So yeah, that might mean involving payroll. That might mean involving benefits. But inherently, it's all about people. It's a people service. So if the function in your organization is not doing that, then I would say you are not operating potentially with a strong, values-oriented, and cohesive HR department. And that is exactly why I have this podcast. As a matter of fact, tell them to listen to it, because then maybe this is a message to them that we've got to all do better if we're not providing, the right resources to our humans. So that is the first episode I highly recommend that you listen to. The second episode that I recommend you catch up on is cancel culture. And that is, that is from 2021, I think. That is episode number 32. So I have to go in and number all the episodes. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure that it's easy to find. Cancel culture. It's one of my favorite episodes, because, one of the things that I did when I started this podcast was confront a real fear of mine that every single thing that I've ever recorded will live here forever. And that is a scary idea, because, there's no taking your voice back. There's no taking anything back. So, cancel culture really thrives on that, right? It's out there, it lives there forever, and shame on you. But we are human beings, and even if we're talking about HR, and this is technically like a business or a management podcast, cancel culture needs to be canceled, okay? Can we say it all together? Cancel culture. That episode, I had to listen back to that too, but I just try to stay away from listening back to my episodes unless I'm doing the editing for the podcast episode that's coming out, because it just makes me cringe, because I don't want to hear. Okay, let me break that down. It makes me cringe because there are always things that I wish I added to or elaborated on or said differently. It's not because of what I said, it's because of what I potentially didn't say or what I would have liked to say differently. So let me clarify that. Anyway, so cancel culture, another great episode to listen to. And my third recommendation for going back and catching up, especially if you're new here, is vaccination mandates as a condition of employment. And that was published in August, so that is episode 44. And I recommend that because if you're new here, or maybe you didn't listen to that, maybe because you thought it didn't impact you, newsflash, it impacts everyone now. So, take a look, take a listen. I'm sure that with the Omicron variant, we will continue to hear more and more about this. Actually, the biggest change, as we know from the last week in December, is that the CDC updated its guidance. And it is so challenging to manage as an HR person, but we've got to do it. And so you have to be clear on what the protocols and the policies and the laws are. And I will do a separate episode that will help you get all of your ducks in a row on this, especially if you are, an agent in this, a change agent or a manager of this, because there are so many legal obligations with COVID. There are so many stipulations, and I want to make sure that you are clear on what you need to do so that you do the right thing and so that you can protect your employees and, potentially any clients or customers that you have. This episode is brought to you by Namely. The last few years have changed the way we work forever. 2022 will be no exception. At-home workforces, internal mobility, and team community will continue to evolve and be more important than ever. And that's why you need Namely, the all-in-one HR solution that offers everything you need to set you up for success in the new year, so you can meet the new HR trends of 2022 head on. Namely helps you easily adapt to the ever-changing workplace and maintain a great experience for the entire employee lifecycle. With onboarding, performance management, and intuitive benefits enrollment, you have an all-in-one connected platform. Plus, Namely can streamline your payroll, time tracking, and vacation requests, whether you have 50 or even 1,000 employees. So you can be everyone's favorite HR leader, no matter how your company grows. This year, don't just keep up, get ahead. Learn more about making the switch to Namely today at namely.com. Don't wait, that's namely.com. So catch up on those episodes if you're new here. And, if you are new here, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. If you're an old sport and you've been here since the beginning, or maybe since the, start of 2021 or in the middle of 2021, I appreciate you too. Thanks for being an OG. Thank you for being here. Let's get right into the rest of my manifestation for 2021. Oh my God, don't take me back. It's 2022. Let's manifest that we get it right, because it always takes a month to correctly write the year. Am I right? When you're writing a piece of paper, or you're dating something, it takes it's like not until February 1st that we start writing the new year. So excuse that brain blip there. So let's manifest 2022. We already talked about my personal goals, which really are my podcast goals, but also my personal goals because they are totally intertwined. Now, let's talk about you. What do you want out of 2022, and how are you going to get there? So it's, we all hear it, right? Meditate, mindfulness, focus on the things that you want, visualize. I have to say, the visualizing, that is my thing. I love to visualize, especially in moments of fear or anxiety or like nervousness or traumatic situations. I visualize what happens at the end, and it's always something positive because that's what I want coming out of it. So let's take that moment, take that idea, and run with it, because we've heard of all these things, like I said, but are we actually applying them? I am the last person to tell you to meditate or take a moment for mindfulness, because I don't do those things, and maybe I should, but I don't. I do visualize. I do write things down. So what are you going to do? What makes sense for you that is going to help you get at least a step closer to your goals? Maybe you're not going to achieve your goals. Maybe that's not the point, right? But maybe the point is that you take a step closer in the direction that you want to be in with your goals for 2022. Let's set some low-hanging fruit. First and foremost, maybe you want to wake up a little bit earlier. Maybe you want to go to sleep a little bit earlier. Maybe you want to throw caution to the wind and you want to wake up late and stay up late. That is okay. Put it into action. What are you going to do? You have to actually do it. So how do you make sure you do it? Maybe you set timers. Maybe you set reminders. Maybe you write a Post-it note. Do something. Take action. This is a huge part of achieving goals. Achieving anything is taking action. So take action. Take one step toward your goal, or, toward at least achieving or working toward achieving that goal. Second thing, Are you intertwining your personal and your professional? Because that's okay. And I think I've talked about this before on a podcast episode that, work is personal and that is okay to, blend the two. But it's important to be strategic about how you do that. Like I've already, manifested my podcast goals that I consider to be professional and personal. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that I do is that I'm not totally separating work, because work is, for me, like HR, my career is personal, and it is now also my hobby. I'm doing this on the podcast. So I am not separating my goals. And so if you are someone that eats, breathes, and sleeps your job and your career, don't separate your goals. I'm going to tell you to do the exact opposite of what most people say to do, and don't keep your work and your personal life separate. Completely intermingle them. Put your calendars together, maybe even just use your work calendar for your personal stuff too. Put it all together, because then maybe you'll take one step closer, or it'll take you one step closer toward being super organized and really thoughtful about, what it is that you want. And finally, learn from your past. I'm going to say that one more time. Learn from your past. I know this is something that I fully intend to do, because although I think we all probably learn from our mistakes, definitely, we're not always learning from the good stuff too. Like when I think about 2021, there are things that I did really well, but I don't know that I always continue to do them, because maybe it's like a one-stop shop. Maybe it's one project or one, action moment or task. But am I continuing that? Like, am I going back and reflecting on what it is that I did well, or maybe what it is that I could have done differently? No, I'm definitely not reflecting. I can tell you that now. I'm reflecting right now on the podcast. So I would love for all of us to agree that we are going to take a moment, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a week, whatever the cadence needs to be, where we are reflecting on the things from our past, whether it's a month before, a year before, 2 years before, so that we are not always reinventing the wheel, So I'm putting that out there. Can we all just take one moment to breathe? Maybe we have a quick 5 seconds to say nothing, do nothing. And I'm going to preface this because I think it's necessary. First of all, I need this. Secondly, like if you're like me, you ran from 2020 into 2021, and then you sprinted from 2021 into 2022 with work, with your personal life, with everything, because I just feel like the world is moving a million miles a minute. And I don't know if that's because we were in lockdown and everything slowed down, and now it's like, oh my God, we got to catch up, run. I don't know, but I'm going to give us 5 seconds here to breathe. I actually don't think I breathed that entire time. I think I held my breath. But you get it, right? It was a moment of silence, and in a positive way. And I'm rebranding this. I'm normalizing the moment of silence so that we can use it interchangeably for moments of mourning and for moments of celebration and reflection. So, wow, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but all I can say is I needed that, and I wish that I breathed, because I think I was just focused on you not hearing my breathing. But here we are. I had to tell you, I need some time off, and I'm sure I'm not alone. We all need time off, and I kind of wish that the world would, like, in a positive way, say, hey, you know what? Let's keep commerce going. We need the economy to stay, but everybody just stop working for a little bit, and fair trade will be good. It's fine. Capitalism, great. The drill. But proceed with a lockdown type of life for 2 weeks, and we'll come back, and hopefully everyone will feel good. Oh, and by the way, turn off your cell phones, and social media is going to be turned off too. I kind of just wish that everything would just quiet down a little bit, So in reflecting on this, I feel like this has to be our, mindset for 2022. And I'm bringing back the phrase that I used a lot in 2021, which was space and grace. Give yourselves space and grace to do what you need, to have what you want. And this is what I posted on LinkedIn too, that we, especially in HR, or if you're trying to break into HR, it is a lot. So we need to be able to take the time that we need for ourselves in order to be our best selves. So if it's a 5-second moment of silence, if it's a 50-minute moment of silence, if it's a day of turning your phone off, just do it, because if that's what you need, then that's what you need. To wrap up this episode, because, listen, it's the first week of January. Some of you might still, be recovering from the new year, and I get it. I don't want to, bore you with 30 minutes, even though I hopefully don't normally. I would love to just keep this short and sweet and ask you to do 2 things. The first, again, share this podcast. It doesn't have to be this episode, but share this podcast with your family, your friends, your coworkers, significant others, because it would greatly help me to work toward achieving that goal that I shared with you in the beginning of this episode. The second thing is I would love for you to review and rate the podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe and comment. You can rate, give it a thumbs up. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, you can leave a review, and I hope that it's 5-star. I'm not going to tell you what to review, but, let's manifest a 5-star review for you and me. And if you're on iTunes, you can actually leave comments and reviews in writing. So I would just love if you can, put some positivity out there, encourage some others to take a listen to the podcast and download, subscribe, or follow. And this, this rating on Spotify, this is new. So it would be wonderful if we could get some 5-star reviews on there. And finally, the only other thing I'm going to ask of you is to follow me on Instagram. It's the easiest way for me to connect with you directly. I answer pretty much every DM unless it's weird. And none of you have sent me a weird DM, only people who are bots. So that's the good news. So you can expect a message back from me. I would love to connect with you on a more personal note. Please follow me. It's HR Traci on Instagram. So that's HRTRACI. Thank you for being here. Cheers to the new year. Thank you if you've been here the whole time or if you're brand new. This is going to be quite the year. I can feel it in my bones, and I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you next week.